And of course, that is the end of the State of the Nation address as delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, processions are leaving now, and that is the mace and the black rod. Of course, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refilwe Mthweni-Tsipane, outlined how the processions would leave, and she said that it would be the Speaker of the National Assembly, followed by herself, and then the one of the delegation, of course, of Parliament. Of course, we see the STP there. And of course, all the President and the Deputy President will follow, and then guests, and of course, all members.
As we had said earlier on as well, that the State of the Nation address is an opportunity for the President to set priorities for that year that he's delivering the State of the Nation address. And this year, what came out for me is also his commitment to economic growth, where he committed that there will be 100 billion that will be set aside for black-owned business and businesses owned by women as part of the transformation fund that is going to be established to fund these small businesses. And also, he also made a commitment that they will women entrepreneurs will be trained so that they can also compete for tenders, so that they also get to participate in the economy, and we create an economy that is inclusive to vulnerable members also for our society, meaning the disabled people.
And of course, on your screen right now is members singing, of course, and obviously happy with the president, what the president had to outline. Of course, this is a yearly thing that we see, that after the State of the Nation address, members will break out in song in much of a celebration of the way that the president has paved for the year ahead. Of course, like Masefo said, there are some priorities that the president has outlined, including combating unemployment and ensuring that municipalities work optimally. Of course, then we are done. This was the much anticipated State of the Nation address, and we are now waiting for members to make their way out to hear their reactions as to what they think of what the president had to say. Now, obviously, we have to think about what is it that members have to say, especially members of the opposition.
Yes.
What reactions are they going to have? And of course, you can stay tuned to Parliament TV, and we will have those reactions for you. And it's going to happen outside at the City Hall right here in Cape Town.
And they can see Minister of Sports there, also Mr. Gayton McKenzie, as well there as the members are exiting the City Hall.
That is outside the Cape Town City Hall. Beautiful. And obviously that is the motorcade for the president and all the VVIPs. Of course, reactions, we're waiting for them, and members are there. And of course, let's hear what they have to say. And we'll be crossing over to Thembi Nkosi, who's right outside with the members. Let's hear some reactions.
Thank you, Tsepo and Masiko. I'm standing outside the Cape Town City Hall. The President has just concluded his State of the Nation address. We're now going to be getting reactions from the members of Parliament. And standing with me is the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Velenkosi Hlapisa. Hlekazi, siyabuleka kakhulu for uthetha no Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's address, please?
Yeah, what emerged is that South Africa must be a construction site. If South Africa can become a construction site, this will create job opportunities, infrastructure will be maintained, and he spoke much that if we want to make South Africa work, let us make the local government work. I will be championing the white paper review, as the President has tabled it, that it needs to change the setup of our country, and the funding model of our municipalities is what is going to make our municipalities work, because more resources must be injected to our municipalities so that they become functional. That is where economy must be injected. That is where investment must be done. Once they are functional, there will be an attraction point for investment in our country.
Baba, siyabulela kakhulu.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, that was Mr. Velenkosi Shabisa, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, who was sharing his views on what the President had to say, especially in relation to turning the country into a construction site and capacitating the municipalities. We're standing here, like I said, outside the Cape Town City Hall. We're getting reactions from the members of Parliament. So we'll be walking around trying to see if we can get more of these members to talk to us. The President has outlined quite very critical issues, especially in relation to infrastructure development in the country, and as well as turning the country into a construction site. But for now, as I'm busy looking for people to talk to, we'll just cross back quickly to the studio, but we will be bringing you more reflections on the State of the Nation address. Back to the studio for now.
The first State of the Nation address of the 7th term of Parliament will be held on Thursday, 6 February, followed by 2 days of debate on 11 and 12 February, concluding with the reply by the President on 13 February. The State of the Nation address, commonly referred to as SONA, is one of the most important annual events in the parliamentary calendar. It is an integral part of Parliament's oversight function over the executive. Watch the address live across Parliament's platforms at 7 p.m. Follow Parliament on social media and join the conversation using hashtag SONA2025. Your Parliament, your voice, your future.
South Africa's Parliament will proudly host the 11th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit, known as the P20, bringing together leaders from G20 national parliaments to shape global policies and reinforce parliamentary oversight in international decision-making. As the first African country to lead the P20, South Africa's Parliament is championing Africa's active participation in global governance and economic policymaking, ensuring the continent is a driving force in shaping the future we want. Parliament will play a critical oversight role, ensuring that South Africa's commitments as G20 president translate into real economic growth, job creation, and social development. The P20 summit will embed African perspectives in global decision-making, ensuring that policies on trade, technology, and governance reflect the continent's needs and aspirations. In alignment with SONA 2025's theme, harnessing parliamentary diplomacy for the realization of global solidarity, equality, and sustainability, Parliament is committed to fostering international collaboration for a better, more just world. Your Parliament, your voice, your future.
Has concluded his first State of the Nation address for the 7th administration, the first under the Government of National Unity, and those are the cars leaving after the address. And of course, members singing outside, these are the members of Umkhonto Wesizwe, and of course this is something that we're used to in terms of singing when members come out of the chamber.
And also, you know, one of the things that I took out from the speech is the President's commitment to expanding early childhood development, that now we need to move early childhood development from being a place where children, you drop them off so that they can play the whole day. It's now going to be formalized in a sense that all early childhood development centers must be registered. And remembering also that recently Parliament passed the Bella Bill, now which is the Bella Act, where now even grade R has now been formalized, that children, it is criminal for a parent not to enroll their children now for grade R. And also the other thing that's also interesting is that now introducing the mother tongue based bilingual education to improve numeracy and literacy, because research has proved that children learn better if they learn in the language that they use as mother tongue in the home. It gets to improve their performance in their academic activities.
And And of course, those are the cars outside, and Tim Nkosi is outside getting some reactions. Let's get to hear what some of the members have to say about what the president presented.
Thank you very much, Seppo and Maseko. I'm now standing with Dr. Kone Melda of the Freedom Front Plus. Dr. Melda, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's State of the Nation address, please?
Yes, my honest view is I think the President missed a very important opportunity. Tonight, as far as I'm concerned, would have been his most important speech as President. I wanted to hear a reset and a completely new approach with regard to the government of national unity. I did not hear that. What we heard was the same recipe we've heard in the past. Lots of funds, lots of projects, lots of promises, lots of ideals, but nothing in practice. The practice and the data that people experience are not showing any of those things. And obviously it was more the President of the ANC tonight speaking than the President and leader of the government of national unity. That's unfortunate.
What do you think the President could have said better?
Well, basically he should have really redirected himself in terms of giving the right direction in terms of the government of national unity as the driving force. The government of national unity was used tonight, as far as I'm concerned, to brag with the good performances of some of the ministers from the opposition side, and then in the end just to say we've got to stick together, and that's not good enough.
Dr. Melda, thank you very much for talking to us. That was Dr. Kone Melda of the Freedom Front Plus. I want to see if we can speak to next. There's quite a lot of activity, a lot of media houses here, so we are fighting over the interviews of these members of parliament. So we're walking around trying to see who we can talk to as Parliament TV. We're moving now slowly towards Dr. Tron Shope, but we're going to have to wait a little bit for him to speak to other media houses, but we will be bringing you, like I said, all the reflections from the members who've been sitting in the House and waiting for the President to deliver the State of the Nation address. Now that the President is done, let's see if we cannot speak to Mr. Anthol Trollip, maybe just to get a bite. Let's see if we can't get a bite from Mr. Trollip. Mr. Trollip, thank you very much. This is Parliament TV.
Where are you from?
I'm from Parliament TV. Can we get your reflections?
Yabona ke umongameli uphinde wasibalisela insomi. You know, it's almost as if Cyril Ramaphosa is an observer or an invigilator about this government. He doesn't really understand that he's the president of this government. Keeps telling us about things he's going to do, about funds that they're going to develop, about graduates that they're going to employ. He tells us that we're going to invest a lot of money in infrastructure. Now, there were some good numbers around infrastructure investment, I like that, and maintenance of infrastructure. But then if you think about it, if you think about Sunrail, if you think about PRASA, if you think about the fact that our rail infrastructure doesn't work, even in the city of Cape Town, staff that work in my office cannot catch the trains because they're unreliable. And he said, we will get you to work on time safely. Doesn't work, doesn't happen. So he can talk about what is going to happen in the future. The problem is that we live today. South Africans live today. They want to see an improvement. He spoke about local government, about getting competent, capable people in local government. That's exactly where the problem is. Why? Because the ANC have appointed incompetent, incapable, corrupt cadres at local government level. And that's why our municipalities are bankrupt. People don't pay service delivery, like Eskom and water boards, and they are crippling them. And that's why we're running out of water and did run out of electricity. Eskom, the Auditor General today said that Eskom is crippled financially. So these are the travails that face South Africans every day, and I would have liked to have seen the President say, we have a place that is a shining city that we can refer to that it's going to be like that, but they don't have one. We have one, Action SA, in Tshwane. We're turning Tshwane around, and we will be able to point to Tshwane in 2026. Action SA.
Well, that was Mr. Anthol Trollip of the Action SA, and standing with me now is the President of the African Transformation Movement, Mr. Vuyo Zungula. Mr. Zungula, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's speech, please?
Mhlekazi wami, you know, into funeka siyithethe ebantwini. Umnumzana uRamaphosa isona yestand eyenza lena. kumnandi ukuza apha abantu banxibe kakuhle wonke umuntu athethe ngayo isona kodwa umbuzo ufuneka sizibuze wona ukuba ikwimpilo zabantu phaa ezilalini phaa nezilokishini abantu bangathathi intweni ingaba usukela ngo-2018 umhlekazi wangena elawulweni. What has been the difference? Because we find that as a country we get to be excitable about small things, about little things. This is the 10th SONA has been presenting. But if you look at unemployment, poverty, crime, they've ever been increasing. So for us as a party, we are not excited, we are not moved because the people of the country are condemned to lawlessness, to crime, to load shedding as we speak. So there's nothing to celebrate, there's nothing to take home about this particular SONA.
Indona ucumba mhlawumbe umongameli bekufanele buyithethile binokwanelisa.
Mhlekazi wami umnumzana uRamaphosa akufunekanga athethe kakhulu engaqala aphendule ukuba kwezi zinto ebezithethile kulonyaka ophelileyo zintoni into azenzayo. Befana uyasho ukuba ndandithe ngonyaka othile kuzoba khona ibullet train ikhona, ndandithe kuba kuzoba khona ismart city sikhona, ndandithe kuzokwenzeka lena ikhona. But in the absence of him accounting on his previous promises, it would be foolish for people to think or to have hope in terms of what is promising now for the future. Thank you.
That was Mr. Vuyo Zungula, the president of the African Transformation Movement, ATM, expressing his views on the president's speech. As I had said, we will be walking around throughout the evening trying to get reflection from members. There's a lot of media houses here, but let us walk that side to see if maybe we cannot grab one member. I see there's Mr. Subrati there. Maybe we can see if we can talk to Mr. Subrati. Would you mind to talking to Parliament TV, sir? All right, thank you very much. I'm standing with Mr. Imran Subrati, and ANC MP. Mr. Subrati, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can we get your reflections on the President's address, please?
I think the President's speech was a real masterpiece. It was a speech of unity. It was a speech of looking beyond those things that divide us and focusing on those things that unite us. The President certainly was no pushover. He demonstrated firmness against the responses of what we're getting from internationally vis-a-vis Trump, etc. The President was resolute that we will work through this. He provided significant progressive changes. He advanced, he continued to advance the aspect of billable, of the NHI. So it was certainly a well-polished, lots of economic boost, job creation, housing creation. I think exactly what we wanted. It's particularly what I was impressed about is the transformation fund of 20 billion rand per annum, which is really going to allow us and those small businesses that could not access the economy, because one of our key priorities is to build an inclusive economy, and that transformation fund will allow those players to enter the market. So certainly, I left very inspired. Our president has certainly made us proud.
Now that the president has outlined government's plan for the year, what are you planning to do in order to hold then the executive to account?
Well, you know, as an ANC we go into a lechotla from the 14th to the 16th, and we've been waiting for the president's plan of action as he's outlined today. So certainly we're going to factor that into our caucus plans for the next 12 months, and certainly for the next, until the period of this presidency, until this period. So certainly we're going to be hard at work to ensure that we painstakingly map a way out to achieve that which the president wanted us, and certainly those who will be charged to driving that agenda is the executives. So certainly accountability will be crucial for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subrati. Let's see if we can steal a word from Minister of Health, Mr. Aaron Motsoaledi, while he waits for the other interview. Mr. Motsoaledi, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. If you can just share your reflections on the President's address with our viewers, please.
Well, for my side in health, I'm very happy. Very, very happy, I must say, because he has mentioned all the important things. Number one, that we are forging ahead with the implementation of NHI, and that we are going to have massive infrastructure to improve the public healthcare system. This is what has been lacking over many years, but also to tackle the biggest disease that the country is troubled by. The biggest contagious disease, that's HIV and AIDS, that we are going to start to launch a program that we are launching on the 25th of February to look for 1.1 million additional people who must be put on ARVs. Those are the things he has announced, and we are very happy with that.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that reflection. That was the Minister of Health, Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. We are still here outside the City Hall, and we're trying to get as much reflections as we can from the members of Parliament. But like I say, yeah, it's a grab because there are a lot of media houses that are here. So now and again, I will be stepping some of the members, and I'm standing with the leader of the United Transformation Movement. Yes, Africa, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's address, please?
No, thank you so much. I think the President wanted to balance. He was leaning towards right, leaning towards left, wanted to balance, to be in the center. But the most important thing, which was our expectation, the issue of DRC. When is our kids coming back? Don't say they are coming back. When? Put the families and the nation into confidence, because they still have questions in terms of this mission. How does South Africa benefit from them? At least all you can do is to tell us, when is our kids coming back? Our soldiers must come back to the families. I'm talking about the fallen soldiers, even the ones who are still alive, even the injured ones. And then the second point was the issue of Expropriation Act, which UAT, we don't support the act. But now, because it's into law, I was expecting him to talk into a program of action and give us timelines in terms of how they want to implement it, and so that we know that now maybe there's a reason why even the rights wings are complaining about it. So yes.
The President has also promised to turn the country to a construction site. Can we hear your view on that, please?
In his first SONA as a president, he promised to build us a city, a smart city that will create employment, infrastructure, and increase our economy. Did he do that? All these things are just promises. So I don't believe in what he's saying. He's one of the best in terms of articulation, but he never implements. So all the beautiful things that he just said now, he's not going to do them, because we're only having a year. Next year we'll come up with another story. But it's better this time he did not come up with a new character movie of the Nzwalo and them. We're expecting Thabo and Sello somewhere, but we are yes.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Kanimambo.
Kanimambo, that was the leader of the United Transformation Movement, giving us his reflections on what the President had to say, and emphasizing on the issue of the DRC and wanting to know when will they be coming back to South Africa, those soldiers, those who have passed on and those who are still alive. As I had said, we'll be walking around. We'll still have to bring you more reflections. But now, let's just cross back to the studio.
Some mixed reactions there, of course, with the President's State of the Nation address, some of them describing it as a masterpiece, and some, of course, saying that it was just unfulfilled promises, a regeneration of what he has promised in his previous State of the Nation's address. Of course, we had Mr. Buya Zungula, who is the president of the ATM, and we had Mr. Ethel Trollip from Action SA, and they had the same sentiments, or similar sentiments, in terms of the president's promises. Of course, Mr. Zungula said that at this point, the president should be able to say that we promised infrastructure, this is what we've done this year. We promised electricity, this is what we have done this year. We promised that water and sanitation would be a priority, and these are the projects that we've implemented. Unfortunately, he feels that the president failed to do that, and that is some of the sentiments from Mr. Ethel Trollip as well from Action SA. He did, however, love the promise on infrastructure development, especially when it comes to railway.
Yes, and also coming back just to add on to say that, which goes back to the responsibility of Parliament to conduct oversight over the executive, to say, this is what you promised this year and where are you with these promises. And also one of my take-homes was also where he also saying that they are going to build, government is going to build more housing in the city centres and so that people are closer to work and business opportunities, so that people get to live in areas of their choice and not areas where they can afford. Basically saying that they're going to redesign the housing subsidies and direct more funding towards programs that enable people to buy or rent a home in an area of their choice. And we know how much a rental can be expensive. And again, the transport cost of commuting between your where you work and where you stay also becoming an extra cost, and in these times, difficult economic times. So now, and also that they will also release, this will be facilitated by them releasing underutilized state properties so that they can be built to create housing development. I think this is one of my best take-homes, to say that people now will have an opportunity to live in areas of their choice.
And of course, then my takeaway was definitely the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. And the President did say that sexual offence courts will be established this financial year. And that is something that I'm excited about, especially because this means that government has committed itself in ensuring that we combat gender-based violence and femicide. Of course, it coincides with some other social development ills, social ills, such as unemployment, such as poverty. And he did speak about economic growth and employment and the importance of ensuring that there is employment and that there is economic growth. I hear that Temi Nkosi has somebody for us. Let's hear some of those reactions from members right outside the City Hall.
Welcome back. I am now standing with the leader of Action SA, Mr. Herman Mashaba. Mr. Mashaba, good evening and thank you for talking to Parliament TV. Can you give us your reflection on the President's address, please?
My personal reflection was listened for almost 1.5 hours with the President that actually failed to really inspire me. And firstly, as a privileged South African, because I take myself privileged because I'm able to really feed myself and my family. In the meantime, the President is talking about 28 million South Africans being recipients of grants for them to put bread on the table. He wants us to celebrate this. In a country of just over 60 million people, almost half of South Africans, for them to be able to put bread on their table, they have to rely on grants. And that's what our President expects us to celebrate. We sit in a country with complete non-existent of our borders. I don't know how many millions of undocumented South Africans who are going into communities, the poor communities, with people who live in deplorable conditions, taking their businesses, giving them rotten, expired goods. Never address those matters. Those matters that are affecting our people in Amanskral, here in Gugulethu, because it looks like the black communities in this country are not actually the beneficiaries of this new the government of national unity. We thought with the government having almost 70% support, they will start coming out with programs that can actually benefit the poorest of the poor. It looks like that was not really in the agenda of the President, because he's expecting us to celebrate failures. Because, I mean, if you can imagine, you live in a country where half of your people actually live with social grants, and it's something that you celebrate. Our President celebrates a failure instead of actually saying to South Africans, we know you, we hear you, we see you. We will come out with programs to address poverty in your country. You know how we easily do it in this country? We're one of the countries in the world, if not the only country in the world, with factories in Amanskral, Babelech industrial area where I was born and raised, Garankwa industrial area where I started Black Lung Meat in January of 1985, Kwandebele, Twatwa. Those factories are lying empty, they are being vandalized. Instead of actually creating an environment where we can reopen these factories, the city of Johannesburg, just as an example, taken over by criminal syndicates, when our people live in squalor, in what today we call informal settlements, squatter camps, our people live on top of one another with no basic services like toilets. We're not addressing those issues. We are allowing international drug syndicates and cartels coming into our country, destroy the lives of our youth. Never heard the president talking about this. I don't really believe there's any family in this country, particularly for us as black families, where our youth are not affected by drugs. For the president, nothing to talk about that in the State of the Nation address. These are the issues that you've got to touch about. It's not about the good English you speak. It's about actually addressing the lived experience of our people. That's what the political system actually should be, or political leaders should really provide that leadership.
Mr. Mashaba, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Mr. Herman Mashaba, the leader of Action SA, sharing his frustrations with the president's speech, also indicating that the president could have said better when he was delivering the speech. Like I said, we're still here outside the Cape Town City Hall, where the president had concluded with his speech, had concluded talking to us, and right now, just for the sake of our viewers, please introduce yourself and then share your views with us.
Sure, I'm obviously a journalist. Obviously, we heard about water and sanitation. We're standing outside City Hall, and all we can smell is a reeking drainage system. I mean, what do you say about that? But I mean, overall, we've heard. We are every single year. So let's see change and actions. That's all.
Thank you very much. As one of our journalist colleagues sharing his views with Parliament TV. I'm now standing with Stephen Letsike, the Deputy Minister for Women, Youth and Persons Living with Disabilities. Ma'am, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can you please share your reflections on the President's speech, especially in relation to your department? If I listened carefully, he mentioned it almost 10 times.
Absolutely. Look, we are super excited that this State of Nation address was humbling to bring a nation that works for all, a nation that actually wants to repair the oppressive and injustices that have left women behind. Of course, what the president is saying, everyone matters, men, women in all their diversity, but we are also going to correct the systematic things like patriarchy that has consistently put women at the receiving end. Women, young people, where they must be economically active. They must be in education sector, they must be in training, they must build, we must build their skills. We want all of it to be responded to. But what is the crux of it? President is saying we leave no women, we leave no youth, no person with disability. And there were practical things that were at play. The Public Procurement Act, that is very clear. The regulation that will be set that all the businesses led by women, youth and persons with disability will be participating and will be included financially. Secondly, Transformation Fund. That is quite important for us, particularly for black-owned businesses, and that we make sure that they actively participate, but at the same time, NEFSA's allocation for persons with disability. Gone are the days where vulnerable groups and marginalized groups will be left, particularly persons with disability, where opportunities of education are denied because of the differently abled. And we are there to monitor it. We are there to actively make sure that it's fully integrated with clear targets, and our midterm development plan stipulates it very much. So President has spoken lengthily around it. One thing I want to also mention, gender-based violence was also at the heart of this. You know, we know exactly the challenges of the pandemic, the challenge generally of violence in our country. We want a peaceful South Africa, and our administration is ready to contribute to the peaceful South Africa. Women, youth, children, and also persons with disability and LGBTI, which was also mentioned by President, that they will live freely. We will make sure that the prevention efforts as stipulated in our National Strategic Plan are implemented adequately. He has set aside a contribution towards the establishment of the Gender-Based Violence Council, and our role as a department is to amplify and make sure it happens, including making sure that the rapid response team is adequately implemented.
And we know that it's this time of the year where many students flood the institutions of higher learning, some trying to get admission, some facing financial and academic exclusions. We are aware, we've seen the reports on the newspapers of students that are sleeping in corridors, that are sleeping in libraries, that are sleeping in SRC offices. What do you think can be done to assist those students?
Indeed, you are correct. These are young people. This is the future of the country that is experiencing this. And in fact, when you look at even the number of students that have written matric and that have matriculated, and in fact also the challenge that sits with how much space is available. 200,000 availability of space will also lock out a number of our young people, and neither will they be in employment, education and training. That worries us. But already there are efforts that are led by the Higher Education and Training Department. We've been working with the department. We started already at the beginning of the year working hand in hand with the department to say, where are the young people? How do we make sure that they also are actively participating? We work with the associations of students, the Congress of Students that are organizing to make sure the accommodation, which is also quite important, reasonable accommodation, but also making sure that NAFSAS can actually distribute the funds to make sure the students can adequately get assistance. We do know the challenges that are there, but we want society, we want parents, we want students to work hand in hand with government to make sure we respond adequately to the issues.
I'm glad that you've also mentioned the issue of NSFAS, because I believe that NSFAS have a capped amount of 45,000 for student accommodation, but we do know how expensive this student accommodation can be, which sometimes even leave those NSFAS beneficiaries with student debt from the universities, which arise from the cost of accommodation. What do you think can be done to try and mitigate this allocation of funds to the students?
Precisely, you are spot on. And I think if we listened carefully to what President Ramaphosa has stipulated, he also spoke about the issue and the situation of housing. Not only just for the students, but even by virtue of where the economic hubs are. Many of the people who works in these cities don't live in the cities. And he touched on making use of public infrastructure. The buildings that belongs to government must actually transform into accommodation, affordable accommodation. We know student accommodation is not enough. These young people cannot be left to fend for themselves. We have to do it fast. So the Minister of Human Settlement has got the task to deliver, together with the municipalities, metros and provinces, to make sure that affordable accommodation is accessible even by students in the cities. People don't have to travel far to get to the place of work, also to get to a place of study.
Ms. Letsika, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV.
I appreciate it.
Well, that was Ms. Stephen Letsika, Deputy Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, youth and persons living with disabilities. Sir, good afternoon. Thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Sir, can you get your reflection, please?
Yeah, I thought that the speech was a very balanced speech. The President really came across very strongly in terms of of certain issues that he feels very strongly about, especially if you look at the issue of crime in our country, the issue of the infrastructure, where he spoke about a large sum of money that's going to go into the infrastructure development, and also he spoke about the issue of job creation, which is very, very important. If we can address job creation, then of course we'll bring down the crime levels. We'll address the social ills in our country. But I think what is very crucial is now, after he has made all of these promises, we need to now have oversight, and that is where the National Council of Provinces come in, where we'll actually have a look at how he rolls them out. Yeah.
And that was what you had just said. That was going to bring me to my next question, because I wanted to know that now that the President has outlined government's priorities for the year, What is the National Council of Provinces going to do in order to hold the executive to account and also to ensure that the pronouncements made by the president are implemented in the provinces?
Well, one of the things that was lacking in the past is effective oversight. And we have already started with the issue of oversight by ensuring that you have the three-sphere planning. Now, once you have the three-sphere planning, then all three levels of government will be working in synergy, not in silos anymore. And once that starts happening, then the oversight becomes so much easier. We are then able to track what was said, where's the budget, and the actual implementation on the ground so that the people benefit eventually. So that's where the NCOP will come in, and we will have our plan. In fact, we've already got our plans in place to ensure that we track whatever was said, and also from any executive statements that come out after this, we will be able to track those.
And also, SONA 2025 happens 2 months after the country assumed the presidency of the G20. How is then the NCOP going to ensure that the G20 activities are infused into the provincial programs?
Well, the G20 is actually going to give us a huge boost in terms of the economy of our country and all the opportunities that are there. And the NCOP is going to feed into that. Not only the G20, but also the P20, where the speakers come together. And we're going to make sure that the NCOP becomes a part of those processes, because the opportunities that are there, we must not lose sight of that, and we must be able to take advantage of those opportunities to benefit the people of our country by ensuring that all these important role players that are coming into the G20 must be able to we must be able to derive benefit from that, and be able to promote our country to such an extent that we can actually ensure that we attract foreign direct investment. And in that way we can grow our economy, because our economy right now is below 1%, and our target is 3%. So the only time we're going to be able to achieve that is by attracting foreign direct investment into our country.
Mr. Governor, thank you very much for talking to Parliament.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. That was Mr. Les Governor, the Deputy Chairperson in the National Council of Provinces, also giving us his reflections from what the President had to say when he was delivering his State of the Nation address. I think from this side of the coverage, we'll have to end it here. And I'm now taking you to my colleagues in the studio, and from my side, a good night.
That was Tim Bikosi on the ground. They're giving us reactions from different members of parliament and members of the executive on their reactions from the State of the Nation address, which was delivered this evening by President Ramaphosa. Just an update on next week events in Parliament. On Tuesday and on Wednesday, the members of Parliament will debate the State of the Nation address. This will be an opportunity for various members of Parliament to unpack the address as the President has delivered it today, and also to pose questions, and also then he will get an opportunity to answer to those questions on Thursday, the 13th of February at 2 p.m. again, and the sittings will be held at the Dome, currently at the New Master Parking, just in front of Parliament buildings, Parliament Precinct. I wanted to say the word precinct. It has been a long evening, Tepo. I must say it's been a long evening, a long day, and it has been a pleasure to work with you and Tim Kosi. And again, we're dressed by local designers. Yes. I was dressed by Silomidu Piscalo.
And I'm dressed in Mansu by the beautiful Balesa Mukubung. And of course, you can go onto our website for more information on the work of Parliament and the debates next week by using our website, which is www.parliament.gov.za. And of course, if you want to follow and like and subscribe, please do so on all our social media platforms and join the conversation by involving yourself at Parliament of RSA. From us here outside of the Cape Town City Hall, it has been a pleasure. See you next week. Bye-bye.
And have a good evening and good night.